Hey there, folks. I'm Matt Hansen.
And I'm John Johnson.
And you're listening to
Planes, Trains, and Comic Books.
The podcast where we discuss favorites we've reread, both classic and new comics we want to read, and everything else in between.
And here's the comic we picked this week.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of
Planes, Trains, and Comic Books.
Today, we are... What was that?
I was going to go into the theme song really quickly in the background.
Okay. What is the...
Well, I guess no, because this is more of a sad version.
Yeah, this is the comic version, but you were going to do like Teenage Mutant Ninja... Okay. So yeah, like John...
Ninja Turtles.
Ninja Turtles. We're reading the newest release of a popular series by Ninja Turtles. And this is called The Last Ronin, and it's basically the Dark Knight Returns of the Ninja Turtles. Yeah. So this is like grim and gritty, serious Ninja Turtles stuff, just like the original comic. And John actually put out the first volume we did podcast a couple years ago. I don't know.
Oh, it was episode like 30 something.
Jesus.
So it was a long
first year episode, and I bet we still had the same old theme song one I made with like my 8-bit maker or whatever. So, but yeah, like that's a pretty good precursor to this because it is the same creative team. Kevin Eastman, well, not team. Peter Laird did not have any involvement in this other than, I guess, Eastman at the end dedicated it to him and was like, we plotted this a long time ago. So I guess maybe Laird, because he's credited as one of the writers too. So like maybe Laird had,
like storyboarding kind of.
No, I think like him and Eastman in the 80s had talked about what would be the end story or something, and so he built it from that.
Gotcha.
So I think it was kind of like like co-plotter or something, was what they were going for. But so Kevin Eastman is one of the creators, and he came back. He hasn't been writing Ninja Turtles for a very long time. He sold his share of the Ninja Turtles in the 90s to like Nickelodeon or whatever for like a cool 10 mil or something like that. So he very, very much got fucked by that because if you know how valuable the Ninja Turtles franchise is, that is way more than $10 million. And Peter Laird, who was smart, kept it until like 2004 when he sold it to Nickelodeon. Oh, no, I think he licensed it to Nickelodeon and then he sold it, I think, in 2016 or something like that to Nickelodeon for much, much, much more money. So Peter Laird is like, oh yeah, you can publish whatever you want, Kevin. I'm just taking a bath in money is what I'm doing right now. So, oh yeah, I don't give a fuck about Turtles anymore. I'm sure he does, but I just feel like Kevin Eastman is the one who got
the raw end of that deal.
I don't know if it was the raw. He was the stupid one. He was like too crazy with his money. He's starting his own publishing company named Tundra originally he was like, I'm going to publish 5 books this year. And he went to Comic-Con and he came back and he had signed agreements to publish like 70 books. So he was like, I want to publish.
Over his head?
Yeah, way over his head.
Oh man.
So like, I think his company lasted 2 years or something like that.
Dang.
It was just like, I want to do all this stuff. And then it was like, I can't do all this stuff. Never mind. It's a bad idea. Not a bad idea, bad execution of an idea, because I feel like he did put out a lot of good comics in that time with his publishing company, but unfortunately it went under because there was just too much good comics coming out that he couldn't support. And when I say good comics, I mean comics that weren't necessarily selling, but they were good comics. Like Rick Veitch has some badass Brat Pack.
Okay.
By Rick Veitch was released under Tundra originally, and then he had a bunch of other series that he released under that too, which we might be doing because I'm reading them right now. Like I went on like a Rick Veitch buying frenzy a couple days ago, and I like couldn't help myself, and I bought a bunch of stuff, and then I'm reading through all of it, and it's all the stuff from that generation, like the Brat Pack, early 90s time period.
Nice.
And it's fantastic and funny and gross and horrible and all at the same time. So, so yeah, I think those might be fun. We'll probably do those some other time. But Kevin Eastman was the one who was putting those out. He was kind of a groundbreaking. Not only he was a groundbreaking creator, but a groundbreaking publisher whose flame burned too bright, we'll say.
He flew too close to the sun.
Yeah, much like Icarus. His wings melted as he flew too close to the sun. But he did jump onto this Last Ronin Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles series. He, like I said, he co-wrote it, and he actually drew new art for it, which was a big thing. I don't think he's drawn any new Ninja Turtles art for 20 plus years. So like, he doesn't draw at all. I'll say that.
No.
But there are flashback sequences that he draws, and you know it because it looks exactly like the old Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, it looks great.
It looks fucking awesome, just like Kevin Eastman stuff should. It's fantastic, and it was like my favorite part of this whole book. I could not believe. I was like, I turned the page. I'm like, oh, Kevin Eastman, like, amazing. They don't do it in the first issue. Like the first issue, there is no Eastman scene.
Okay, I'm trying to remember.
It's the second issue where they show
right,
it, because I did a review of the first issue, and if they showed Kevin Eastman art in the first issue, I'd have been like, buy it now. I would have pulled it. I didn't buy this in issues because I was like, it's Ninja Turtles. Like, we'll see how it goes. But if I knew that there was actual Kevin Eastman art in there, I would have totally pulled the 5-issue series. So, like I just said, it was a 5-issue series that ended a couple months ago, maybe like 4 or 5 months ago. And then there's a sequel coming out, so they're definitely continuing.
Oh, nice. Okay. Well, I was gonna say,
I think it's a prequel actually, because it's like the lost years of the turtle that is in this. So,
oh, okay.
I don't want to spoil it while we're talking here.
Yeah.
So
well, that's cool. I was gonna say the end too. I was kind of like, we'll see how that.
They could definitely continue it. It just wouldn't.
But it wouldn't be the same.
It wouldn't be the same. No, it would be weird if they. We'll get to it with the end, but basically. It would be funny, and I'll tell you why it would be funny when we get to the end of this.
Okay.
But
let's get into it.
So anyway, let's get into this thing. So like I said, Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird created the Ninja Turtles. Kevin Eastman writes, and then we got a bunch of other writers. Tom Waltz, I guess, is the main one. Another writer named Tom Waltz, and then there's a bunch of other creators who are the artists. I didn't know any of these people, but it's like Ben Bishop, Luis Antonio Delgado. And a bunch of people I can't pronounce their names. So
yeah, they Escorza people. Escorza.
Okay. So yeah, and I never heard of any of these artists, but this was an IDW book, so they sometimes go out of the normal pool for artists and writers. And like I said, this book is supposed to be the Dark Knight Returns, or the last hurrah of the Ninja Turtles, like what would happen at the very end kind of thing. So we start off right away. There is a turtle, and he's in his dark garb. Now, unlike the TV show, the Ninja Turtles in the comics do not have separate colored bandanas or whatever, at least initially in the first volume.
Yeah.
Or I don't know. They must take it sooner or later because the cartoon was so popular. And the reason why they have colored bandanas is because the cartoon was like, you need to be able to identify these for toys.
Yes, reasons. We need to sell toys of all of these characters.
You can't just put a piece of pizza in, a turtle's hand unless they have an orange bandana.
Yeah.
So we don't know who. That's like the conceit of this is we don't know in the first issue who this last turtle is, because this last turtle is about to make a suicide mission, and he's going to attack this. What is it?
Well, it's New York.
Yeah, I mean, it's New York, but this is the dystopian New York.
Yes.
And Shredder's great-grandson, or grandson?
His grandson.
His grandson is in charge of the city. He's taken over the city. So this turtle is going to get revenge, he says, for everything that Shredder's done to him. And he goes to do a suicide run and to try to get in there. Yeah. So, and the city of New York is kind of, like he mentions like, the water around the city is like really gross and polluted, and like climate change has caused like the sea levels to rise. So there's walls that they built around New York, and like that keeps the water out. And so it's basically like a fortress keeping people in rather than, and I guess keeping water out at the same time. So, but they need like pumps and everything to keep it, free of water. So besides just the walls, you need pumps and stuff too. So in the middle of the city, there's like a giant building, and that is obviously where Shredder's grandson lives, who's named, what's his name again?
Osaku Hiroto.
Hirioto.
Hirioto? Hiroto. Hiroto is what I would think.
Hiroto. There you go. Osaku Hiroto.
Yes.
and yeah, he's a bastard, just like his granddad was.
Yes.
And so we see the turtle breaking in, and he's doing all his normal stuff, but we do notice that the turtle has all of the weapons that we would know from the 4 different turtles. So on his back, he's got a staff, he's got the katana, He's got the scythe from Raphael, and nunchucks as well. So,
and he's also got some extra ninja weapons that we didn't see the turtles use quite as much.
Yeah, like he's got his grappling hook. He's got
throwing stars.
Yeah, stuff like that for sure.
He's got the I don't remember what they're called. The
shurikens.
The shurikens, yeah.
No. You're talking about
the sticks that are on the.
Oh, those are like billy clubs, basically. Yeah. The billy clubs with the, but they're electrified. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
It's like billy club with a handle on it that he could like.
I know. I feel bad. I don't remember what they're called.
I have no idea what they're called. So don't feel bad, John. I don't know that weapon either.
Okay.
Basically, any weapon you could have as a ninja except a gun. So
yes.
So he climbs the wall. He goes in the city. He's like, oh shit, I got to get all the way to the center. How am I going to do that looking like this? Because he's a big turtle. Even though he's in like, ninja garb, he's instead of looking like a normal citizen who's got like bright colored future clothes and stuff, looks like a ninja turtle. So like he's not going to blend in too well. So he's like, I got to get there. He steals a motorcycle of a girl who at first, when I first read this, I was like, she's not important. I mean, they kind of throw it out there like they say, but like some guy is like, Casey, someone's stealing your motorcycle, and I didn't pick up on it.
I didn't either.
So they reveal in the second issue that is Casey Jones's daughter.
Yeah.
And
Casey Marie Jones.
Yeah, Casey Marie Jones. So he just happens to steal her bicycle or her motorcycle. And rides over to Hiroto. God damn.
Hiroto's compound. There's like if it's all fenced in, obviously you couldn't just get in there.
Yeah. And he makes a couple distractions, in order to break in. But we see what this new future world has for security. Hiroto has a bunch of cyborg ninjas, or as they call them sinjas, which I appreciated. I thought that was funny. And so he kind of sneaks into the building, he thinks, but he goes up like through a sewer grate like he normally would. And it sets off an alarm because they have alarms on everything, on every entrance. So he's like, wow, New York City's changed. That's the other thing. He hasn't been living in New York City. Obviously, he had to break into the city.
Yeah.
So he's been somewhere else for a while. And this is like him after planning for years or months that he's going to make his one last hoorah. So he's so new to it, he doesn't even know like what the layout of the city is, or like the traps or normal security things that are there now.
Yeah.
So he breaks in, he fights a bunch of Sinjas, which is pretty cool. We also see inside the Sinjas, it's actually like humans that have been like turned into cyborgs.
Yeah.
So he's like punching them, thinking they're robots, and like stabbing them and shit. And then he realizes like one of them has like a broken face mask, and you see an eyeball. And he's like, oh shit, like these are real people. Like, sorry. Like he doesn't really stop pulling punches at that point.
No, because one of their heads comes flying off.
Yeah. He just takes note, like, oh, there's people under there. And I thought he was going to be like, I can't kill them. But it's like, no, I can definitely kill them. So he defeats a bunch of them, and he makes it all the way. Like, there's a whole chase scene through the city where we see there's like hover cars and stuff like that.
It's very, it's post-apocalyptic future, very like Blade Runner, Terminator-y as far as like some of the aesthetics.
I was thinking like Fifth Element with with the flying cars and stuff.
Definitely.
But eventually he does make it all the way to Hiroto's like lair or compound, where like everywhere he goes, he's running into harder and harder versions of the Sinjas. So the first one he finds are like mall cops, basically. And then now, once he's into Hiroto's actual like facility, like the top levels or whatever, or the mid levels, these guys have like fucking skate feet and like crazy. They're super fast and they're way more armored, and they look even like less human. Like there could be less of a human underneath them for sure. Also, we find out later on that the reason why that Hiroto has all this technology is because Baxter Stockman, who you might remember, created the Mousers, the Mouser robots from the first story arc. He has teamed up with Hiroto, but like it's a enemy versus enemy, but but we like our power, so we'll like work together kind of thing.
Yeah.
So he shared his technology with Hiroto, so Hiroto could, keep control over everything and have like ultimate security and like fascist state, power over the people kind of thing. And
like
there's another island where Baxter Stockman lives, where he has total control.
Yeah, I was gonna say I get like, and he's got his own like his own area he
Yeah.
controls, basically.
And that's actually like the island that powers it's like the power source for New York City. So it's not only that like he gave him the technology, he also powers the city, and it's very important. It's a very important location. I'll say that. So Stockman definitely has power over Hiroto, but Hiroto has bigger numbers of followers or just people, military or what, security team. So he feels like I could kill Stockman if he got it a hand, and Stockman feels like I could take your city out if I wanted to. So there's like a good it's basically a mutually assured destruction.
Yeah.
It's a Cold War they got going on. So yeah, this turtle is fighting one of these, more hardcore Sinjas, and he takes him on. We do see like more of them come because, he's setting off security alarms and stuff, and he's not having that much trouble. I mean, he's having trouble, but he's figuring out how to beat them. They're not like getting any really, really bad,
Yeah, he's not really getting much as far as like damage or anything from it.
Yeah.
He's not really taking money punches or things.
Yeah. One thing I love about this is that when they do like close-ups on the turtle's face, you see the wrinkles and stuff. Is an older turtle,
Yeah, like you said, the Dark Knight. You very much is like Bruce Wayne's like kind of like wrinkly lined, like grizzly face.
Yes.
But he's a turtle. But it's his turtle face.
Yeah, and he's wearing a black bandana, so a little bit different than the other ones.
So who is this turtle?
Yeah, we don't know. And so he finally makes it up to like the Hiroto level of this complex, and Hiroto says like activate Stockman tech. So like up until this point, the beings he's fought has only been like the Sinjas that have been made from the tech, but it's not the actual like AI tech.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's like activate Ultron or something is what he just said. So like he does that, and all of a sudden these new mousers that are like hover mousers with lasers, and they still have mouths, but like I don't know if you remember what the old mousers look like, John, but
oh yeah, they kind of look like little robot dinosaurs.
They look like AT-ATs with teeth.
Yes,
it's AT-AT, right?
Or ATST because they only had 2 legs.
I'm sorry. Yes, that's what I meant. I don't know their fucking name, John.
Well, that's because you're not. You're
an AT-STAT. That's what I'm gonna call that. AT-STAT.
AT-ST.
AT-ST.
AT-ST. Anyway.
So yeah, those ones from Star Wars. Yeah,
yes.
Chicken Walker. There you go. But with teeth.
Yes.
That's how the old ones look.
And these look more like AT-AT.
I thought these looked like robot dogs, kind of, because they got little legs.
They look like bulldogs.
Yes, they look like little bulldogs.
Yeah, because they even look like they have an underbite.
And they have little baby stubby legs too. Yeah. But they're hovering, so I guess that's just to land, so they don't roll over.
Yeah,
because they're round. Like yeah. And then there's like lots of different types. There's the ones like we just said, the bulldog ones. Then there's ones that look kind of humanoid. Then there's like bigger ones later on and stuff. So it was kind of like, oh, cool. Like they've really expanded on the Mouser platform. We'll say. So the turtle goes all crazy, goes ham on these Mousers, is able to take most of them out. But then all of a sudden, this big humanoid one arrives, and that one is actually like a challenge for him. He ends up falling out of the window because this thing like pushes him, like charges him,
yeah,
and pushes both of them out the window. And that Mouser lands and dies, but the turtle also lands and hits the ground, and he's like, "Oh my god!"
From like I don't know how many stories up, like really high.
Now he lands you would think maybe because he'd land on his shell or something, and they'd say, "Oh, the shell protected," but no, he's like just as surprised as you are because he landed on his face. And like, or his front, and he's coughing up blood and stuff. But he's like, "Wow, what the hell? I thought for sure I was a goner." Like he doesn't quite know exactly why he's still okay. But
I do. One thing we learned through all of this is because like it's kind of going. You see Hiroto in like his lair, like on his monitors, like watching all of this happen, and he says a line that caught me. It was like, "I thought I got rid of you all 10 years ago."
Yeah, so
it's been a decade since
anyone's seen a turtle.
Yeah,
or a mutant turtle, or whatever, a mutant in general, I guess.
Mutant ninja turtle.
Or a mutant rat, maybe. So yeah, and then we see that the turtle has gone into the sewer to go into hiding because now he's like too injured to do anything.
Yeah, and he's not going to die, like that.
Yes. So he goes into the sewer to hide and to get out of there. And then we see in the tower, Hiroto is like walking over to his like what are they called? Like a chamber? What are they called? Like a sleep chamber from Alien? Whatever the fuck they're
kind of like a cryo
chamber. That's what I'm saying. He goes to the cryo chamber, like Mr. Freeze's wife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
He's got one of those, but it's for his mom, who was in charge of the Foot Clan. And now he's in charge because she got wounded at some point and was unable to be like, I guess the stasis tube that she's in keeps her alive, but like just barely.
Just barely.
Like, won't let her die, but she ain't waking up either. They ain't healing her or anything.
Like you said, like the Mr. Freeze.
Yeah, exactly. It's just she's just freeze dried in there or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Someday I will find a cure.
So he goes over to be like, "Mother, they're back." Like basically just kind of
yeah. And so her name is Kari, which I guess I had to look her up because I only know and have so much turtle knowledge. And I guess.
Yeah, I mean, the most I've ever read is like the first 2 volumes of the Ninja Turtles. And then everything else I know is from the animated show.
Yeah. So apparently I guess in this version, she's the daughter of Shredder.
Yeah.
And she was like his second command apparently for years. And then, she took over. And then apparently at some point too, she had an on and off fight, like a nemesis with Leonardo, but also maybe a bit of a love interest with Leonardo.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of interesting. I was like, oh, okay. So just a little tidbit of information.
That's the
I found
next
out.
one. The spoiler is going to be Hiroto is half turtle or something. But I always knew the shell on my back was.
I was wondering. I had an inkling and feeling, but.
Yeah, I just never knew. No one ever confirmed that the shell on my back was because Shredder was not my dad or my grandpa or whatever, or whoever my dad was. I don't know. They never said.
They never said dad. Yeah.
Maybe they do. I don't know. Like I said, we haven't
some
read.
random foot soldier.
Yeah. Oh man, getting freaky with boss's daughter. That's what happened.
Yeah.
So like we said, the turtle is down in the sewer. He is damaged. He's thinking he's gonna die because he failed. Also, he's very angry at himself for failing. That was his last chance to kill Shredder's grandson, to get revenge for Shredder. I mean, for Splinter. Like he says, like I wanted to get revenge for you, father, and he's talking about Splinter.
And one thing extra we actually didn't talk about is a lot of times when he's been by himself talking and like talking about his like what he's going to do in his plan, he is talking to people. He's like hearing. There's like voices off screen. You see little word bubbles.
See little word bubbles off screen, and they sound a lot like the other turtles.
Yeah,
and so you're like, wait, are they like behind him the whole time? Like, and we're only seeing this one. That's a weird device or whatever.
Yeah,
but we find out as he gets to his little like I guess lair or stopping point where he decides to do this. He's like, okay, I failed, and I can't do the mission that I wanted to do. I can't get revenge, so I'm gonna die with honor. I'm gonna commit seppuku. So he's going to like cut his stomach open with the katana that he has. And before he does that, he pulls out the bandanas of his other brothers. And he looks over and he also has like a book by Splinter. And as he's about to stab himself, he passes out like from, I guess, just blood loss.
Probably
or whatever.
blood loss, yeah.
And it turns out that Casey Jones' daughter, followed his blood into the sewer and catches him right as he's about to commit seppuku. And she's just like, what the fuck is that? Like, it's very obvious she has never seen a turtle before.
Yeah.
So.
At least a giant turtle.
Yeah, at least a giant turtle like that.
A humanoid turtle, yeah.
Yeah, and she's like,
You're
holy crap, turtle? No way, you're a mutant turtle. And then he just kind of like passes out because he's so weak he can't even complete what he was going to do. And then. This is where we kind of get the, this was like the saddest part to me.
Yeah.
So like we see a little like heartbeat dying, like a heartbeat monitor that dies. Like it goes from like beat, beat, beat to beep. And then you turn the page and you see his brothers are like, hey bro, I'm eating the last bagel. Hope you didn't want it. Like, like all of them are talking to him like, we're waiting for you, bro. Come on, you got to get up.
Yeah, and I like they're still keeping it a mystery because it shows them all, but none of them have their masks on.
Yeah, so we don't know who's who, even though we're seeing and like it's all like what's that called, like
sepia.
Yeah, sepia or.
It's like it's got a golden aura to it all.
Yeah, everything's kind of fuzzy. Or I can't remember what that. Like you got Vaseline on the lens of your camera.
Sepia.
I don't fucking know, John. I'm not a
you don't trust me?
art man. I don't know.
Look, as a person who does light photography on occasion.
What don't you do, John? Let me ask you that. What don't you do? So anyway, So yeah, we don't know who the turtle is, but the other turtles are there, and they're in their old, the lair from, all the comics before, like where they got a refrigerator and pizza and everything, and they're just talking about like, man, you got to get up, you slept in, bro, and he's like, what? And then he kind of comes to, and all of a sudden we see April O'Neil, an old battered April O'Neil, saying, you got to get up. So he comes to, and he's like, whoa, April, is that really you? And she confirms it is her. And she's really happy that he's awake because she hasn't seen him in very long. And she knows who it is even without his mask or anything on. She's like, I was worried about you, Michelangelo. And so, we find out that the funny guy, the goofball, is actually the badass last Ninja Turtle.
Yeah, how about that? The one y'all laugh at, the one you think there's no way he's going to be the one to survive in a fight.
Yeah. It's got to be Raph, right? We always think this Raph because also it seemed like his main weapon was what are those, scythes?
The scythe.
Yeah, so, scythes. That's what they're.
Yeah, scythe is the big.
Yeah, I kept saying scythe, but I meant scythe.
Scythe. They're close.
So he kept using those like mostly. So I was thinking, oh, it's got to be Raph because of that. So it's great. Like they did this in a very good way. And then it turns out the people that he was talking to were the other turtles like in his head. So constantly through this comic, you're getting banter from the other turtles, but they're just in his head.
Yeah, you kind of see ghostly figures on occasion, but yeah, I mean, it's to assume that it's just in his head and they're messing. It's his mind so like dark and upset and sad about them being not there anymore that I guess he also sees them a bit too, hallucinates maybe a little.
Yeah. So then that's the end of the first issue. It starts with that it ends with that cliffhanger. Then we start off in the next issue with April O'Neil. She's in bed crying at night. It's the nowadays April O'Neil. And we find out why she's crying is because we get a flashback of the night that Casey Jones proposed to her. And he's like, oh, will you marry me, babe? And I don't remember the guy's name.
Elias Koteas?
Yes.
I wish too. He's forever Casey Jones.
He is forever Casey Jones in my mind. So, so as they're like about to be like, oh yeah, babe, like this is great. We got to start planning. And I can't believe it. Raphael bursts into the room, and this just happens to be the night that like all this shit went down, and they got attacked by the Shredder, or actually the Shredder's daughter.
Yeah.
And there apparently had been like peace for a while, like a truce, but when was it the mom that broke the truce?
Yeah, it was Kari that broke the truce, and they ambushed them.
Yeah, they ambushed them, and that's what it was. Okay, so yeah, Kari like decided right now would be a great time to surprise them because they think we're all good. So she does that, and then even Splinter gets really hurt and everything. So, and then we find out that Splinter actually killed Shredder. Splinter actually killed Shredder.
Yeah.
So like that's why Kari, like, even though there's been a truce, has been biding her time, waiting to kill Splinter for killing her father. So they come in and they put Splinter on the table, and they're like, he's not going to make it. And then they cut away.
Yeah.
Fuckers.
Like, fuck.
Yeah. And then
Splinter.
We see that's what she's, dreaming about. And the other thing, they show her like sit up in bed, and you're like, okay, April's older, this is where she's living now. But we see there's like a robot arm on her nightstand. And then she like turns to get out of bed, and we see that she has an arm missing and a leg missing. So it's like, oh my God. And she's got like a robot arm and a robot leg for the rest of the episode for the rest of the series.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we just see the turtles being like, I don't think we can save him unless we get him to a real doctor, because we keep going back to the flashback. And they're like, but how can we move him, And then they're like, wait, where's Raph? And of course, Raph, he's a hothead.
Yep.
He runs away to get revenge for Splinter, just like he did in the first series and in the first movie.
Yeah.
Splinter! And so that's like, we get a little, like, all the history of what has gone down in the flashbacks of this. So I really liked the format of this.
I did too.
A little bit of the future, a little bit of the present future, a little bit of the past. Then you get a little bit of like the Kevin Eastman, what was going on with Michelangelo at the time in the past. So there's some cool stuff going on. And yeah, I mean, basically now that Michelangelo is with, I got to remember to say his name now because we know it. So I was trying not to spoil it for the listeners. So now that Michelangelo is with April O'Neil, he's trying to like figure out what to do next because he didn't die. And they're like, well, I guess we could do another attack or something like that. And he's talking about it with his brothers over breakfast, the Ghost Brothers.
Yeah.
You know, they're just in his mind, or Mind Brothers. I don't know. But we find out what actually happened. And one thing that was funny, I don't know if you caught this, but this is actually, there's a panel. They do a flashback of Raphael running or going over to the Foot Clan where they are to fight Kari. And there's two guys that like look over and go like, did you see that? Like two humans.
Yeah.
And one that's what Eastman and Laird are.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So that's like their own. That's Eastman has the mustache and Laird is the.
Oh no, I didn't know that. That's fun.
Yeah. So I thought that was funny. But yeah, so we see that Raph, he goes all hardcore. He's fucking killing Foot Clan people and just murdering them and shit. And then he goes to Kari, like where she's having a big meeting, and he challenges her. And they're like, what the fuck? Because there's like hundreds of Foot Clan members here. He's like, I'll take you all on, basically.
And he is too. He's like tornado, just like going around.
I believe it's called a Gornado.
A Gornado. Yes.
That is
He's just murdering foot soldiers.
Yes, trademark Planes, Trains, Comic Books. Gornado.
Yes, Gornado.
So yeah, like he's just murdering all of these Foot Clan people, and she's like standing there, and he's like, "What? Are you too scared to fight me on yourself?" And so she's like, "Oh, I see how it is." So she goes down and fights him one-on-one, and he's got like arrows in him and shit, but like he ain't letting him slow it down. And a lot of them are in his shell, so you know,
probably not little to no actually like probably skin penetration.
Yeah. Most of it are just like flesh wounds or something. So she jumps to meet him, and they have like this big epic fucking fight. I loved this fight.
Yeah.
It's just like, you know, tit for tat. She stabs him, he stabs her, he blocks this, she blocks that. It's fantastic. And she's also dressed like Elektra, which I thought was fun.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, oh, that's great, because I don't, if we said it in the first episode we did, but if you didn't know, the Ninja Turtles was like an homage or like inspired a lot by the Frank Miller Daredevil run where Elektra was introduced, and also the Hand Clan.
The Hand and the Foot Clan.
Yeah. So this is the Foot Clan, and that was kind of parodying,
tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah, tongue-in-cheek parodying of the Hand, which is the ninjas from Daredevil. So, you know, if you didn't know that, that's kind of like a fun thing to like think about when you see this. And I'm like, holy shit, it's Elektra, like totally Elektra.
Yeah.
And so they're fighting for a while, and like, you know, no one's getting the better of either really. Like they're evenly matched for sure, until Raphael says like, I'm gonna take you into my element, because they're fighting on like the docks. And so he like pulls her into the water, trying to make it so like I have the advantage. I'm a fucking turtle.
Yeah.
In the water. Well,
and it was crazy because he basically does like a suplex with her into the water, and I'm like, oh shit, like this is gonna be like he's gonna drown her or something.
Yes, and so he actually does stab her in the spine, in the back, and I think that's like
maybe that's part of
he like takes his sai and he like stabs her in her lower back, like right above her butt with the sai, and so I'm like, oh, he like paralyzed her basically, and then but she happens to pull one of his knives from his belt. And this is like one of the most fucked up panels I've ever seen.
Turning the page, and I was like, oh my God.
She pulls this out, and he kind of like isn't able to block this weapon. And you just see her with her, they don't show it like go in, but you just see him fighting really hard. And then you see her hand under his chin. So she shoved this blade into his, under his chin into his brain. So you see his teeth like clench down like he got hit in the brain with a knife. And then you see her pull it out, and he's just, like he's dead. He's fucking dead. She fucking murders Raph. It's one of the most fucked up. Like if you grew up with Ninja Turtles,
it was hard. Yeah, because then he just literally he like he goes limp right away, and so his side kind of like floats off out of his hands, and you just see his body just like float away.
Yeah.
And then the last panel of this, just blood red water with like the
trailing the side.
Yeah. Oh man.
Oh, so good. It's so fucked up, man. I was like, oh, that's hard. That's hardcore. And I was like, how did fucking Michelangelo get the sai then? If it's in the ocean.
Well, he has two. Maybe one was left up on top.
The other one was in her back.
In her back. Well, then she pulled it out and dropped it.
Okay. Well,
when they get up there.
All right.
He figured out.
He has two. I'm just gonna say he's got two.
No, I think he has one of every weapon.
Maybe you know what? Maybe Raph had more than one set.
He probably.
He doesn't have to have the one that he had on him when he died.
Yeah.
You know, or you know, he just bought some from Kmart or something. You know, whatever. I'm sure they're all around. Ninja weapons are all over the future or something. So, Anyway, so that we get like this awesome backstory, and then we cut back to the kitchen where April is making breakfast or tea for Michelangelo, and they're talking about like what's going to happen, what do we want to do, and they're kind of fighting back and forth about what they should do. Michelangelo's kind of like, I'm done, like my mission failed, and she's like, but we could do something. We have a resistance, and like we could rally and we could figure something out.
Yeah. I was just gonna say I like the look of him like un-ninja'd. It gives a very like Marv from Sin City look with the way kind of the band. He's got like these little bandages all over him.
That's obviously on purpose too.
Yeah.
Like these guys they dedicated at the back of this book. They dedicated it to Frank Miller.
Yeah.
Too. Yeah.
But also, I was gonna say I like it, and also am a little bit like put off by a turtle humanoid without any gear on, because he doesn't have a belt. He doesn't. So it's like
he's also naked on the lower side.
I was like, it seems like their shells on the Ninja Turtles like only connect around like the like kind of like right under the armpit to like mid waist area.
Yeah.
And then like all the rest, is just like green flesh. So it kind of is like a little like when he like, especially when he's just standing up, it's a little off-putting to see.
A little bit
to be like, oh, that's a naked turtle right there.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
everybody's seen a little turtle wiener.
Yeah. I mean, I have. For
I know
sure.
you and your wife have.
Yes. We if for all you don't know, we do have a red-eared slider turtle that is like 30 years old or something. So he's about to go to college. That's all. I'm trying to send him to turtle college. So yeah, but as April and Michelangelo are talking about this, all of a sudden a girl bursts in to the room, and it's a girl we've seen. It's Casey Marie Jones, who is April O'Neil's daughter as well. So they get introduced. I mean, like Michelangelo hadn't really met her. She just found him in the sewer and took her back to her house. So that's what we find out. Like, oh, Casey and she was pregnant when this whole thing went down. And yeah, it's a whole thing.
Yeah, and we do find out because we see his stuff in her room, but actually Casey Jones is not here anymore either.
Yes, so at the end of this issue, like kind of like Michelangelo, April is talking to someone else, and then you're not getting an answer back though. I don't think from
no, yeah,
and she just like, what do you think, Casey? And she turns and you just see his like golf bag with his mask on it. So he's dead too, obviously. So yeah. And so the last of him, or what's left of him, is in his daughter. So
yeah,
she's very protective of her daughter, but like I was surprised. She's pretty good about letting her like be her own woman and like go fight and stuff.
Yeah, we didn't really get too much of like, you see that kind of like overprotecting of that of like the last like part of your life.
I guess when you're like in a fascist, shredder state,
it doesn't matter.
You just say like, fuck it, we got to win or die anyway.
Yeah.
So. Is it really living if you live in a fascist shredder state, John?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so. So anyway, we cut to we find out what's going on inside of Hiroto. God damn it, Hiroto's like palace or whatever. It's not a palace, but it's like a skyscraper.
Yeah, he's got the center of town like skyscraper complex.
Yeah, and we see like how tough he is and everything. He's fighting his Foot Clan people, and he's telling you better give me a decent fighter, I'll kill you. And then like one guy does hit him, and he's like, how dare you hit me? Like, and he's like, you made me bleed my own blood. And he like slits that guy's throat, and it turns out that guy was like his general or something.
Yeah.
So then he like turns to another foot guy, and he's like, General, new general.
Yeah.
Come here now. You will go with me, and we will figure out what to do about that turtle. Because they know the turtle's gone now. So he's training because he's like, I'm going to have to fight this fucking turtle because he got away. We never caught him. And that's like the general feel of this guy is just kind of training for the rest of this series until the last issue.
Do you know what the crows are? He's got this weird like crow thing, and I don't know. I didn't look.
I don't know what it is. I mean, they're mechanical.
I know, but I just didn't know if that like other. I guess that's the animal he's drawn to or something.
I don't know. Yeah.
He's got some crows with him that are always around, and
they always fly around.
Yeah, and anyway, I just was curious. I didn't. That's one of the things I didn't.
Fly.
Not that kind.
Not that one.
Definitely not those crows.
Oh, okay.
That's why this is owned by Nickelodeon.
Yes. So yeah. Eventually, we get a nice little training scene where Michelangelo's talking to Casey, and like they're going to work out, and she's like, "Oh, I know a little bit of. I've taught myself some basic karate moves and stuff." And I don't know what the type. I can't remember what the type of karate it was, but
they just talk about martial arts.
Yeah,
basically.
whatever martial arts. And so,
well, and that is one cool thing I think is like it's that Michelangelo's like, well, like he basically knows all forms of martial arts.
yeah, he's trained long and hard to be able to learn all forms, although he doesn't really use all forms.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the drawings, obviously he hasn't learned all forms.
All forms,
but
yes.
but you know, he's trained on the ones that he thinks he needs to be able to defeat the Shredder in the last 10 years. You know, like that's what he's been doing over the last 10 years.
Yeah.
So he talks to Casey, and they have like this little moment where she picks up Splinter's diary, and she's like, "Oh, what's this?" He's like, "Oh, that's Splinter's diary." And she looks in it, and it has all like the formulas of all these different martial arts, like the how-to basically. And she's like, I can't read this. He's like, "I can. You know, maybe I'll show you a thing or two if you like want." You know, basically, eventually he allows her, like he says, "I'll train you. Like if you want, you know, then you'll be able to like defend yourself and learn how to really be a master,
Yeah.
you know, of karate or martial arts in general." And then we get like this flashback because she says like, "Oh, how did you learn all this stuff?" And that's when we find out that first off, Kevin Eastman drew these flashbacks of what happened to Michelangelo in the between years, in those 10 years between him leaving while his brothers were dead or somehow got away and survived. We don't know exactly yet. But then the 10 years when his brothers died and the 10 years when he came back. And this is like filling in some of those gaps. We see some beautiful Kevin Eastman artwork.
I love it. It goes to black and white Kevin Eastman art, and it is so cool.
Yeah. I was like flabbergasted when I turned to this page. Like, oh, what?
Yeah.
Like, and I knew, like, they said he did like parts of it. And
Yeah,
was
I
like,
just
no,
expected
he
like
didn't.
a cover or two. Here.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought.
Parts.
Oh, there's like a splash page in the back or something that he did, but no, he did like full like 8-page sequences.
Yeah,
in
like,
each of these other
Through,
comics.
if I was gonna say throughout the whole thing, he probably did a whole comic book's worth of art in this.
Yeah, one full comic.
Yeah,
probably.
one full. Yeah.
Because I think these are all about 8 pages long. These little interludes. I should also say these issues are a little bit oversized too. I think they're about 36 to 40 pages long each of them. So you get a good fat like story here.
Definitely. And even though it's like they're all a little bit bigger, I would still say like it doesn't feel long at all. I feel like it was a really like fast read, but not fast like I got like, you know, felt gypped, but like I fast read isn't like, oh man, like this is a great story. I was like in it the whole time. Like it was good. Anyway.
Yeah. So anyway, we get this flashback of Michelangelo being on like a spirit journey after everybody died, and he's like doesn't know what he wants to do with his life, and so he goes to like a monastery area, I guess is what it kind of looks like, and he has to fight a couple, I guess, people that were like, "What is that? A monster?
Some freak?"
Yeah, some kind of freak. And so he fights some of those people, and we just see he doesn't know what to do with his life. He was going there to find peace, possibly. But this is like after he fights those guys, I think he decides to like start training again and like get revenge for his family against the what's their family name? Osaku?
Yeah.
Against the Osaku family.
Yeah, that's one thing that this really becomes is like this is like the last stand of like a family versus family story.
Yes.
And I like that too. Because it's like, I mean, even if you go all the way back to just before the Turtles, just Splinter was fighting against Shredder Orokusaki because he killed Splinter's master.
Yes.
So like this is literally
this is literally like the Hatfield and McCoys.
Yeah.
Forever. Like for to Batman Beyond, you know, level of timeline.
Yeah, exactly.
Because also I don't know if you noticed, but Turtles live a long time. And so like they look Michelangelo looks older, but you know, April looks real old, especially you know she doesn't have like her arm and leg and stuff.
She gives off that like older, you know, badass Sarah Connor vibe, like
yes,
like
for
maybe
sure.
like maybe she's in her like 60s.
Yes, that's what I figured. She's kind of in her 60s because also you're thinking grandson of Shredder, so it's got to be at least you know 40 years or something there. So, and then we see that as we cut back to the normal day. We see that, or the present day, and we see that Michelangelo, agrees to give Casey lessons, and he says, "I'll be your sensei." And then we see April go into her safe in her room. She pulls out this robot head, and I was like, I don't know what that is, but that's like the cliffhanger for this issue, or one of them is like, no, that is the cliffhanger for this issue is like this robot head, and I was like, I don't know what that is. So, John, who is this robot?
Yeah, I had to look it up. They say the name, so that helped obviously.
Yeah.
But his name is Fugitoid,
Or Honeycut. They keep calling him Honeycut.
and he was a brain scientist that got stuck inside a robot, and their brain got stuck inside a robot body. And this is from a time period of the Turtles much more in the future, where it gets very futuristic-y, and they fight like the Triceratops people. I've seen like a little bit of.
I've definitely seen art from that, but I've never.
read any exactly. No. So, but yeah, he's from a future point, and Baxter Stockman is definitely more involved there too, because this is, I guess, that's kind of an arc for him as Baxter Stockman goes through all of the Turtles era. He basically starts replacing his body with technology parts. He basically like a cyborg, and we kind of
see him later on, and he's definitely a cyborg.
Yeah, he's more machine than man by the end of this, for sure.
Also, correct me if I'm wrong. In the cartoon, was Baxter Stockman was a fly person, right?
Yeah, he turned into a fly.
Like
at some point,
a man fly.
Like man fly.
Brendel fly.
Yeah, Brendel fly.
Baxter fly. So, but then he must change back at some point, because now he doesn't have that body.
I assume so. I don't.
Okay.
Know. I don't know.
I thought maybe you knew, because I was like, I remember. Is this the guy that's a fly?
Yeah.
Because I remember that toy, and I totally had that toy.
Oh yeah, I did too.
But I don't remember him transforming back at any point. So apparently he does in the comic. But and the other thing, Krang is not in this at all. So
okay. Well, we'll just say too, because I was just about to say Bebop and Rocksteady aren't in this, and I was sad about that too, because I was like, oh,
missed opportunity.
Yeah,
you totally had.
They could have been older, just like, I think that would have been great to see them like in a bar drinking in the city, just like old and like
I can't believe you let us go.
Yeah, and then
they do have like a biker bar, so they could totally have been there.
And they could have been like, it could have been either he like is like, oh, you guys are too old to fight, or he kills them or something.
To be fair, they did make it seem like mutants were very, very not okay in the city.
That's true.
So maybe Osaku killed them all or something, So because when they discover that Raphael's there, people are like, a mutant.
Yeah.
Oh my God, a mutant. So like this.
Oh, you mean Michelangelo's there?
What did I say?
You said Raphael.
God damn it!
It's because you had that fake out. You wanted.
I thought it was. Yeah.
We also have a little bias here, because I think that's your favorite turtle, right? Is it Raphael?
No, Michelangelo.
Oh, is it? Okay, Michelangelo's my favorite. Then why are you?
Because I thought it was
wanted
Raphael.
It to be Raph.
Because he doesn't have the personality of Michael. He's not talking about
party
pizza.
dude.
You know, he's serious in this, and I always think that's this Raph.
That's true. Okay.
But we start issue 3, and we find out like the reason or why, like or how the turtles died in the first place. So, if I got the timeline right on this, so there was that attack by Katami, or was it God damn it.
Kari.
God damn it. Okay. The attack by Kari, and Raphael goes after her, dies. So Raphael's dead. Then the clans are like, we need to have peace. Like I'm extending an olive branch to you, Splinter. And that is what is going on in this issue, is even though Raph is dead, blood has been spilled on both sides.
Yeah. So
they've agreed to a peace now that the son of Kari, who's this guy, what's his name? Hiroto. So Hiroto is becoming the new head of the clan, of the Foot Clan, because his mom is in stasis. And so, because she got injured with fighting Raphael.
Yeah.
So he's about to take over, and as part of that, he's like, I extend an olive branch to you, Splinter, and your clan. We are sorry. This needs to end. We promise we'll be good. We love you guys.
He says that they're still, but then in his meeting with all.
Well, yes, we know as the reader, we know this is a big fucking trap.
Yeah.
But Splinter, and of course the turtles are like, Splinter, this is a fucking trap, and he's like, no,
you do the voice. You do the voice so good.
No, we must give a chance if it is to be peace at any time.
And then your hand that doesn't move points.
Raphael, it is in here. And then you hit someone in the face with your puppet hand.
With your puppet hand that doesn't have appendages, or doesn't like move appendages. It just Anyway.
Yeah. Sorry, that's my from the movie, from the live action turtle movie Splinter voice.
He does it very well. Anyway.
Go watch that. It's really fun. There's a scene where Splinter is trying to get all like serious and he's talking to Danny, I think it is, right?
Yeah.
Danny? There's like a boy named Danny who needs direction and Splinter's giving him like a fatherly talk. But Splinter doesn't have mechanical hands. So it's like just like a limp rubber hand that's like, it is in here. And he like just hits Danny in the face with his like fingers that are rubber. And it was very funny.
Instead of like, it would be like pointing to him.
Yeah.
But it's his whole hand just like flop.
Yeah. It's very fantastic. And yeah, it's one of my favorite moments in that movie. But anyway, so this trap is being set. And in the meantime, that's what's going on in the past. In the future, we have
Hiroto.
God damn it. Hiroto is now like, because the mutants are out, or like the mutant is out, the turtle, he wants it. He's like, we're going to make everything martial law. We're like establishing martial law right now. So there's a curfew. No one's allowed after this time. Everybody got to stay indoors. Just general martial law. So the foot robots, the Sinjas, they begin the security mall Sinjas, we'll say.
Yeah.
The basic level ones start to like harass the people with batons and rounding them up if they're out late and not going home.
What are you doing out here?
Spraying them with hoses and stuff. So that's what's going on above. But below, we see that Raphael is...
Michelangelo.
God damn it. Michelangelo, is getting restless. He's like, we got to do something. We got to leave or we're going to fucking end this with Shredder, so...
But then he stumbles in upon April, and she's trying to help formulate some plan.
Yeah, and that plan involves Fugitoid. That's why she pulls him out. And should we call him Honeycut or Fugitoid? I don't know. I guess the doctor was probably named Honeycut, right? That's why they call him that?
Probably, yeah, I think
That's like the name they call him Fugitoid twice, and then they proceed to call him Honeycut the entire rest of the series.
Yeah.
And I was like, why don't you just call him Fugitoid the whole time? But I guess because they were friends with him and his name was Honeycut then.
Yeah.
So anyway, April is coming up with a plan, and basically it is to Independence Day, the power source, the Baxter or Baxter?
Yeah, Baxter Stockman's.
Yeah, Baxter Stockman's
power source to all of New York.
Yeah, so she's like, if we take this head of Fugitoid to the island city that Baxter lives on, that he's in control in, we can plug the head in, and we will get, he'll upload a virus, just like Independence Day, and it will take down everything from the inside. And so that's like the main plan that she has. And then we get another flashback of what happened when they were fighting Baxter in the past.
Yeah, and this is the battle with Fugitoid, I guess, where, shit gets crazy for him.
Yeah.
And yeah, because Baxter...
Well, this is part of the plan, right? So the plan of Hiroto, right? Hiroto?
Yeah, Hiroto.
God damn. Okay. So the plan of Hiroto in the flashback was to get Splinter to come over. Splinter and a turtle go over. Donatello specifically go over to Japan to sign this peace treaty. In the meantime, the other turtles, April O'Neil and
Leonardo.
Casey Jones, are left to I guess fend for themselves or whatever. They have their own base and everything, and they're like, I guess they come. I wasn't sure exactly what was going on here. For some reason they're going up against Baxter.
Yeah, well, it's because Baxter wants
Fugitoid. I know that.
I don't know for what reason exactly, other than he was a brilliant scientist and they knew each other too. So maybe it's to
I think the idea is that they just told Baxter hey, we want to attack him at this moment, or all of them at this moment, while Splinter and Donatello are going to be killed in Japan when they come to this meeting. So you do you, and you attack, and he's like, oh, I want Fugitoid, I want that brain.
Yeah.
So I think that's what it is, because all the Foot Clan are there too. So it's they're all attacking at once. So this is the last stand of Casey Jones, basically, and the other turtles. This is where they all die. Baxter's trying to get Fugitoid, and the Foot Clan is there as well. There's a big fight, and the building ends up exploding when like Fugitoid is going up. He literally goes up to Baxter, who's trying to walk into the building, and says the classic Gandalf line of "You shall not pass." And then Baxter's like, "Well, fuck you," basically, and he blows up all the mousers that are inside the building, and so the whole building explodes. And I guess Fugitoid is also exploded, but we find out later, or we found out earlier. Obviously, his head still lives.
Yeah.
And everybody inside that building dies as well, except April, who gets her arm and leg blown off, right?
Yeah, April. Well, yeah, April loses that, and I guess Michelangelo helped her.
No. I think Michelangelo didn't know.
No, he was here.
Oh, that's right. He helps her out. That's why. Okay, so yeah, I'm sorry. This was the jumping back and forth was cool, but it was also a little bit confusing of like, what timeline are we? Like, where is this exactly in that story?
Yeah.
So, which is why I'm piecing it together for the listeners, because it was a little confusing for me. But so yeah, Casey Jones dies because we see his mask hanging from the rubble. The other two turtles die.
No, one turtle.
Sorry, one turtle, because Raph's already dead. Donatello's in Japan.
And Leonardo dies here. You see his sword in the rubble too, with like flames on it.
Yes. So, and then April is gravely wounded, but Michelangelo gets her out of there.
Yeah.
And they establish like, oh, we didn't even know what the hell, like, or like he didn't know or even remember like saving her, basically, Michelangelo, and so it was all like kind of a
pretty much everything from then is like a blur for him.
Yeah. And so the plan starts where Casey is now like part of. There's been a rebellion going on, and she's been part of it. And she was like with a bunch of bikers at the beginning when Michelangelo originally stole her motorcycle to go to
Hiroto's building.
I'm never gonna remember it. So he goes to Hiroto's building with that. So that's actually the resistance. So she gets all of them to help out in like this attack on the Baxter compound. And so there's like a whole thing of her going through the city trying to round up all of them. And then we get like the full breakdown of the plan. But then we get another flashback of what the recovery was like for April. So she gets out of that rubble because Michelangelo saves her. She has lost an arm and a leg, and she's pregnant. That's new to her. And, it's also like, oh, shit, my husband died, and this was our baby. So obviously this is a very hard time for her, but she does power through and kind of finishes her, like, therapy, her physical therapy for it, and gets a new robot arm and leg. And that's like, we also see, like, in the meantime, the city of New York has been taken over by, like, not only the water that's rising, but because the walls were put up by the government of New York City initially, not involving Shredder.
Yeah,
that just trapped all of them inside, and then it was like, oh, Shredder's grandson can now take over because there's walls around the city.
Yeah, where are you gonna go?
Yeah, exactly. So that's like the basic thing that we got, and then we get another flashback of what happened to Michelangelo at that time. So Mikey pulls her out. Then he's like, I gotta go save Donatello and Splinter because they're going to a trap. Because that all happened, like they're flying, or they have just flown to Japan. So he jumps on a plane. He goes to Japan. They make sure you know that he just stowed away on a plane.
Yeah, I love he's in the cargo.
Yeah, he ain't buying a plane ticket. So he goes to Japan to try to save them, and that's kind of like where we're left with that story. And then we see that Casey comes back, and she's got all the rebellion guys with her, and so they're ready to take on the Baxter building. And then we get this awesome scene, which I was like, what the fuck is going on?
I know. I didn't. This was the weirdest part in the whole comic for me.
So
this is Hiroto doing his like great villain monologue.
Yeah, he's doing
with no one around.
So yeah, he's talking to himself. He's outside on top of like a spire.
Yeah, he's on top of his building and like on an outstretched beam with no safety
shoes?
nets, no shoes. Yeah,
no shoes, no arms. He's got like a shredder cloak.
Yeah, shredder cloak.
And he's standing out there barefoot on a rainy night. So, it's not the best night to, be on a thin girder or a thin girder out on your building. And so he's there and he's talking like, I'm invincible. I'm a god. No one can defeat me. These stupid turtles and rebellious people. How dare they? And then like he starts doing like, he reminded me of, in Heavyweights, when Tony Perkins goes out on the ledge and he's like, I'm stronger than all of you. Yeah, he basically goes crazy and he like starts doing all these crazy moves and like, like you're thinking, oh, he's going to slip and fall. And he's like, I'm a god. I am their master. I alone, like I control them. And he does a run and he actually trips and he falls. And while he's tripping, he doesn't say like, ah. He's just going like continuing his monologue. He's not even bothered by this. And he starts laughing as he's falling. And he's like, there's no way I can be defeated because I am immortal. And we see why he's saying that is because there's all this tech around the building. Like these arms fly out of nowhere and grab him.
Yeah, that's what got me because he's falling. And I'm like, why is he laughing? Like, what is going on? I was like, is he going to fly or something?
Yeah.
And then, nope, he just gets saved by a robot arm.
Yeah. So like basically the Baxter tech has been integrated into his building and will not let him die. Like no matter what, if he's falling, it'll catch him. If like I'm assuming if like he's about to get shot, like a panel will come up and block a bullet or whatever. So like it just seems like he's basically got like the ultimate program of AI or whatever to protect him. So that's kind of like where he's at. And then we see that the attack is about ready to start on Baxter's building, back with the turtles or the turtle.
Yeah.
And the rebellion. So we actually cut ahead. Like this is one of those like story points where I'm like, oh shit, like where are we at now? So they cut ahead to where the battle's actually happening on the island of Baxter, and we go back and forth between like the preparation and the attack. And it was funny because the narration over the attack is like the prep narration. So they're like, oh, this is going to be like great. We're going to go in through this front door, then we're going to take a left, and then you see them, and they're like, shit. The left lane is blocked. We got to go right. Like, so there's like, it's always going the reverse of whatever they're saying in the plan. It's always going wrong and they have to take a detour or whatever. And this is where we see what Baxter looks like now, where in the previous episode we saw he looked like a regular scientist. And in this, he looks like a crazy cyborg with like Terminator eyes and shit.
Yeah.
So he's definitely more cyborg than man.
And this gets very Dark Knighty and like Terminator-y here because it's like all rubble around where they're all fighting.
Yeah, there's robots and
then Casey Marie is like got a mask too, so she's like and she keeps talking with her. She's like, yes, Sensei, when Michelangelo tells her to do something.
Yeah, so she's taking orders, but only to an extent because they do make sure to mention that Casey's kind of hard-headed and she will. Like when Michelangelo's like, you got to stay here because it's too dangerous. I need to go by myself. She's like, yes. And then she will follow him or whatever. So, yeah, we get like, there's like I said, there's a flashback to where he's like training her and stuff. And also his training.
I was worried with that training for a second because like they kind of have argument back and forth and it gets real heated. And then she like calms down, like hugs him. And I was like, oh, is she like.
She coming on.
She coming on to.
It was a fatherly hug. It was a student.
Yeah, it was a student
teacher hug. Which that's right. I guess shouldn't happen either. I don't know.
Yeah, I was like, well, because
it was a family hug because she does say like we're family.
Yeah.
Because
Uncle Mikey.
Yes. Well, it's also like we find out later. I'll just spoil it. Like when he's training her, he tries to be like, "Hey, hit me. If you think you're so badass, hit me." And she can't. Right? He's dodging her. He's like able to predict every move of hers. And then she does this move where she does like a force push almost. And he's like, "Whoa, what was that?" So he kind of like just makes a mental note, and then he knows what it is, but she doesn't really know. And he goes to talk to April about it, and he's like, "So she's a mutant, huh?" And he's like, "How did that happen? Did you like inject her?" Because he thinks like maybe April was trying to like make her into a soldier for the rebellion, and she's like, "No, of course I wouldn't fucking do that." Basically, it's because we hung out with you guys so much earlier on. Our blood got tainted by the turtle.
Yeah, I thought that was such a cool. Way to do that is basically they got irradiated from hanging out with the turtle. So
I always thought it was like, in the movies they have like the ooze TGI bottles. Like they just had one of those laying around and like it somehow, someone put it in a shake one time or whatever,
Why are these lime margaritas like extra green today?
Yeah, they're extra thick, I don't know.
I don't know, don't worry about it.
It's oozy, Like Casey Jones wasn't paying attention when he was making margaritas. He put the wrong margarita mix.
That is exactly how it would happen. Yeah. He would be the one to do it.
Yes. So like we get this thing. Okay, she's a mutant, so she's got a little bit extra power and strength and healing ability. Also, we find out that a little bit earlier, we forgot to mention it, that Michelangelo, as he's gotten older, has also gotten like a heal factor. And like he's more strong and he's bigger than he was before. Like whenever you see him in the flashbacks, they're all kind of normal looking. Like human shape or human size, and in this he looks very much stockier. He's basically on the HGH is what he kind of looks like. He's got that distended stomach, you know, like, but it's all abs on the front, but it looks like a beer gut, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, he just looks, you know,
It's
more
like 80s wrestler.
yeah,
strong.
exactly. So and then we get a flashback of the scene, the scene that the fall of Splinter. You know, so Mikey goes to Japan to try to save him, but he doesn't get there in time. And when we cut to and we see Splinter and Donatello are going to the meeting, which is at a graveyard, and they're like, maybe this was a bad move.
Ominous.
You know, very ominous. Go to a graveyard, and they've come with their clan. So whatever, I can't remember the name of the clan of
Hamato.
yeah. So Hamato Yoshi, that's right.
Yeah.
So Hamato is, you know, Splinter's master who was killed by Shredder. So he brings all the Hamato clan guys with him as backup, but only a couple of them that are like down in the center. The rest are like waiting to hear like if they're needed.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, I wonder if he's going to show up. And fucking Splinter, or sorry, it's not Splinter, it's his grandson, shows up and is like, yeah, I'm here. You're stupid. Attack. All the Foot Clan attack him. So Splinter, this was cool. This was kind of like in the prequels of Star Wars when Yoda gets to fight. We get to see Splinter kick some fucking ass.
He's like, no mercy, my son.
Okay.
Just,
the second that the grandson says like Foot Clan attack, fucking Splinter just goes like and just cuts off 3 heads right away. Like the first move is cutting off 3 heads, and they all just fall off, and it's fucking awesome. And so yeah, Splinter's murdering all these Foot Clan, and Donatello's also, you know, kicking people and
with a stick,
hitting them with a stick like he does. And he's like, you know, I don't think we're gonna win this one. He's getting stabbed, he's getting injured, but like, you know, flesh wounds mostly. And then it seems like they're gonna die because what's his name?
Hiroto.
Hiroto is like, unleash the arrows, you know, like bring the archers. Fuck these guys. Why are we fighting them? Like we'll just shoot them from far away. And Splinter hears this and he's like, oh, you're not a man? You're not man enough to fight me, huh? And that's just his ploy to like not get shot by a bunch of arrows. So he starts to fight, or like Hiroto comes down and is like, I will challenge you. I'm not scared of you. But he also does let them loose one set of arrows before that. And so Donatello jumps in front of all these arrows
and fucking gets Boromired.
Yeah, he gets fucking like all these arrows right.
Yeah, and to his front, not to his back shell. Yeah. It is like
no, this is Donatello's dead.
Donatello's
sure right here.
Dead.
But also, I wasn't sure exactly where Splinter got killed in this. You know, like he definitely dies at the end of this, but he was able to like take on for a second. Hiroto.
Yeah.
And like he stabs Hiroto through the like arm or like the shoulder.
Yeah, it looks like like through
but I didn't see like the killing blow.
I think it's just saying like he got because it shows more and more arrows going. So
maybe yeah, I guess they did
arrows.
one more launch of arrows after Hiroto like bugs out because he's like, oh, my shoulder, and like you know gets saved and gets pulled off the battlefield, and then they just do one more volley of arrows. And yeah, that's the end of Splinter and Donatello. So Mikey did not get there in time. And that, unfortunately, is how they die. And so that's where we kind of pick up from the first flashback that we had. That was the Kevin Eastman artwork. The first Kevin Eastman artwork. We get some more of that where it's like a little bit more in depth of Michelangelo's journey.
And I like some of Michelangelo's journey. Like you were saying, I mean, you said this was an ode to The Dark Knight. There's one where he's like on a snowy mountain and his outfit looks just like in The Dark Knight when Robin and Batman are on the mountainside.
Yes,
like
he does. You're
it
right.
was so good.
I forgot about that.
I love the parallels.
The snowy suit, you know, the snow turtle suit.
Yeah.
You know, so
snow bat suit, snow turtle suit.
Exactly. So, you know, then we cut back to the Baxter attack. The rebellion is attacking the Baxter compound. And it's going poorly, but they're still holding on just a little bit. They're waiting for April to get there because April has made like this badass tank. This turtle tank that she's gonna ride in, but she needs the doors to be open and stuff. So they're getting those things done, but you know, they're losing a lot of people. There's a lot of casualties. And then April shows up just as Baxter's like, and the other thing is like Baxter just thinks this is some like weird like oh, these are just people trying to rob us or something, like some scavengers at first. And he's like, wait, they're still going on? Why aren't they dead yet? And then they're like, oh shit, this is like some other attack. And he thinks it might be Hiroto. It's like, oh, is Hiroto attacking? Oh, release the Mousers or whatever. And then like, so he sends out all the Mousers. They're attacking everybody, and they're and like the turtle or Michelangelo's like, oh shit, Like, we don't have a way to really defeat these. But then when April rolls up with the tank, she's like, oh, did I tell you how much I fucking hate Mausers? And she, like, pushes a button in the tank, and this big EMP goes off and fries all the Mausers that are floating.
Yeah, very, very Matrix. It was very cool.
Yes. Yeah, it's exactly like that. Like the Matrix when they're in the real world. Or
Yeah.
with the squids. Or is that what they're called?
It's octopus, squid, yeah, whatever.
I think they're called
robot
squids.
creatures, yeah.
I don't fucking know. So then they're able to get into the building, and April takes Fugitoid's head and plugs it in, and it begins to wake up. They weren't even sure if this was going to work. That's the other thing. Like, they're like, we think if we just plug him into this thing, and like we put his USB stick in the thing and give him some power, he'll wake up. But they weren't sure. So he actually does wake up, and he's like, power activating, and then Baxter sees this, and he's like, ooh, it's that Fugitoid robot I wanted that, like, I lost a lot of my body for. And then also, like he's here right now. I need to get him. So he goes over to grab him, the head that's there. And Fugitoid is ready for it. He's got a defense in play, and he goes, you shall not pass. And then, like, says the line again, and as Baxter grabs him, he literally evaporates Baxter.
Oh, yeah.
Just fucking poof, and he becomes nothing. I was like, holy shit, just like fries his body. And I thought that was pretty awesome. And then Fugitoid is able to, like, I guess break into a bunch of nanobots is what it made it seem like.
I think so.
It's a little unclear why that happened. Some of this stuff is like Deus Ex Machina shit for sure, but it's a comic. I'll go with it. I'm having fun. So he's able to, or Fugitoid is able to use his nanobots to get into the systems and shut everything down. He shuts down the whole island, the power grid, and also puts in a virus that corrupts, like, the savior AI for Hiroto. God damn it. I want to say Hirotomo. I don't know why. Hiroto. So that is like oh shit, like, we just had this big epic scene where he's like, I'm immortal because of my robot AI. And now he does not have a robot AI. So that's kind of like the crux. Now now interestingly, they don't go to attack New York. They kind of like take a break. This very much for me was the scene from the first movie when they're waiting for one of them, Donatello, someone to...
Oh, yeah, to like heal in the...
Is it Leonardo to recover in the tub, right? Or is it Raph?
Oh, Raph. It's Raph.
It's Raph.
Yeah,
where they're just like, okay, April's drawing him. Hurry the fuck up. Get to the part where they're fighting. So, like, that's how I always felt when I was a kid. And this looks the same thing where, like Michelangelo's like, I don't know what to do. He's kind of like scared to go fight again because he doesn't know if he'll be able to defeat him, and this time he might really die.
Yeah, he doesn't want to fail. He doesn't want to let his family down.
Yeah, and he's talking to his brothers and stuff. So there's a lot of things going on like that. But eventually they do decide, like, okay, we got to go now while Hiroto is got his defenses are down. He hasn't figured out how to power back up or anything.
He must be weakened.
At the same time, all the people who are in curfew, who don't want to be in curfew, are like, fuck these Psy guards, like these Saijin guards or whatever. So they are Saija? What are they? Sinja. That's what Sinja guards. And so they start looting and attacking them and beating them with sticks and shit. So, like, the people are rising up as well at this time. And Hiroto is not very happy about that. And he's like, just kill them all. And he's like, there's no one to do it because everybody's down. Like, all the cyborgs aren't powered. All the Earth for the most part. Anything that requires power, auxiliary power, is dead.
Yeah, that's what you get for having most of your army be robots.
Yeah, and I guess some of the robots that are woken up, they're around, so they're getting beat up and stuff by the people.
Yeah,
but there's no backup coming. So the final attack begins, and we see that Michelangelo is just working his way up the stairs of this building. And he's
one by one
murdering. You just see body, like on the ground. They don't show Michelangelo doing any of it. He's just talking over, like he's doing a narration where he's like, there was a lot of them, but I cut through them like butter, basically. like he's just a murder everywhere. There's murder. So he gets, and this was kind of interesting. I thought this might be where they had like Bebop and Rocksteady or something.
Yeah,
but they didn't. They had some interesting like pre-ultimate bosses or penultimate bosses.
Yeah,
where it's like there's a guy with a big sword. He's like, I got to fight him, and he takes care of him pretty handedly. And then that sword was kind of left on the ground, and then another big guy comes, and then he's like, oh no, I can't beat this guy. He's got so much armor. I wish I had a bigger. And then he looks over.
Yeah, I thought when the next big guy comes, because it's kind of like I would say Shredder-esque, like winged demon.
Yeah, like there was
going to
be a reveal that it's.
Yeah, so I thought that was going to be like, oh yeah, haha, this is my ultimate Shredder armor thing.
This is my ultimate form.
Yeah. But yeah, it wasn't either. It was another, like, it was a fake out, I guess.
Yeah, and so like he's having trouble with this one, but he's like, I wish I had a bigger. And he looks over and there's the giant sword from the first guy. He's like, well, never mind, I got the bigger sword. So he stabs that dude, and no problem, just kills him, and then he gets up to the penthouse, I guess is where it is.
Yeah.
Where
Hiroto.
God.
Hiroto and Kari lie in stasis. Or Hiroto is somewhere up there. He doesn't see him yet.
Yeah.
And then Kari is in stasis.
Yeah. So Kari's there, and Michelangelo's like, "Oh, your mom's here. Like, I'll probably kill her too, just to like make sure she don't wake up." But Hiroto's like, "I don't give a fuck about my mom."
Yeah, this was crazy. I did not see this coming.
Yeah. So he's got this suit on that kind of looks. Originally, I thought it looked a little bit like Jason X. You know, when he gets like
oh yeah, when he
Mega
gets all,
Jason or whatever.
It's kind of like Tron.
Yeah, it's very
Jason.
Tron. It's very T-1000 as well, because it's like a suit that like morphs around him, and
it's a liquid metal.
Yeah. But he's able to get like claws that come out like Wolverine, and he just stabs straight through the cryogen chamber.
Like Shredder claws.
Oh yeah, that's right. I mean, they're not like Shredder claws.
No,
his are like little hooks, kind of.
But they're similar because they're like he would.
No, but these actually shoot out like Wolverine.
Yes, like Wolverine. I just meant like that. But I mean, it was like an.
You know what, John? You're wrong. All right, you're wrong.
Liquid Shredder.
There you go. So he punches through the cryo chamber and he kills his own mom.
Yeah, he's like, I kept her alive out of spite.
Yeah. And he's like, fuck you, mom. And so then he's like, I don't need her. I'll kill you myself. And so they have this big epic fight. That's pretty badass fight. Like, this is a pretty long fight too. It goes through like the entire rest of the issue. And so it's just them, like, they're fighting in the room, then they punch each other out of the window, then they fall down. And we already know that Michelangelo can survive a fall, but we find out that Shredder can too. And eventually, after all these fights, they end up outside the city. They go into the sewer or something, and it gets flushed out or whatever. Like, I should say, at this time, because the power went down, the city pumps don't work anymore, and the sewer is flooding, and soon the city will also flood. So everybody that's in the sewer, like all the rebels in April, are trying to get out. So there's this whole side story where like Casey Marie Jones and is trying to find her mom in the sewer that's flooding, and April is like, I got to get these pumps on, or else everybody will die in the city. So she's being like a real hero in the background while Michelangelo's fighting Shredder, or Shredder's grandson. And so Super Shredder,
the new Shredder,
the better Shredder,
the new Shredder.
Yeah. So that just that's going on in the background. That's where April is, and also Casey.
Yeah, and like right before they like go apart and like go on their separate mission down there, April tells Casey, she finds out she's part mutant.
Yeah, but Casey already knew.
Yeah, she had an idea.
But like, really, Mom? You think I didn't know? Like, she gets a little salty about it, but like, it's not like a big deal, I guess. It's like, oh, is she gonna be so mad at her mom that she won't save her? It's like, no, of course not. So, Shredder, or I don't want to hear.
He's Shredder now. It's fine.
Yeah,
you can say Shredder.
New Shredder. So New Shredder is fighting Michelangelo. They end up in the sewer because Michelangelo's like, fuck, I gotta hide because he's kind of losing at this point. And he goes down in the sewer. He gets cut in his abdomen, which is like, ugh, like, I don't know if he gets his turtle liver or something, but like like he gets hurt
turtle spleen
fairly bad. Like it's a bad thing. And also we find out as he's fighting, this metal suit is just like T-1000, where if you hit it, it just creates a hole and it heals itself back up. You can even if there is a hole there and you stab into his body, the hole itself and the body hole gets sealed up by this stuff. So it's like crazy nanobots that heal you too and stuff. So
yeah, but he has to get him. He gets him far enough away to where like that. I guess something about it stops working.
Yeah, I wasn't exactly sure, but I didn't care. I thought it was such a cool fight scene.
Yeah, like, okay. No, it's an awesome fight scene.
I think part of what it is so they're in the sewer. Then April fixes the pumps, and the pumps start pumping out water exactly where they're at through the tunnel they're at, and it pushes them out of the city walls. So they end up in the gross contaminated water.
Yeah.
And
Hiroto
is a human. So he's in this gross contaminated water. I think that might have had something to do with it.
Okay, that makes sense.
Because we've already established Michelangelo doesn't care about it. He thinks it's gross, but it's not like affecting him. And then Also, he does like this move where he like there's like a last scene where, or there's a last end of this fight where Michelangelo has got the advantage and he's about to like choke and do like a last final punch on New Shredder, and New Shredder's like, I am immortal, like you cannot fight me, and he does like an electrocution thing that electrocutes both of them, and he begins laughing, but he falls in the water as well, and then he just ends up falling face down in the water, dying. I think he drowned is what it is.
Yeah, I guess.
So like he kind of fried himself and then drowned in the water. And then Michelangelo lives, but he's in real bad shape.
He is rough.
Yeah. And so because he got his whole guts like ripped open, and it's definitely like a hard fight scene.
Yeah, he's bleeding out his mouth now. He's down. He's almost naked at this point too. He's like, as far as like his.
The more he fought, the less clothing he's wearing. Which I thought was funny. So anyway, Casey Marie Jones comes out of the sewer, finds Michelangelo. He's like, I wanted you to know the most important lesson of all. Now, earlier when we saw Shredder's diary, and when she picked it up,
Splinter's diary.
Sorry, God damn it, Splinter's diary. She picked it up in the workout room and was paging through it, and that's where she saw, it had all like the martial arts stuff in there. But in the back page, we saw it said no peace, as in N-O peace, like the no peace, like an Independence
Day.
No peace. Yeah. So then now he's like, I wanted you to have one last lesson. It's the most important lesson. And he turns to the last page, and now it says KNOW peace. So no peace, like knowledge.
To know peace.
Yeah, you have to know peace. And so with that, he fucking dies. He gives his last breath, and there ain't nothing left in him. He dies, and then we get one. I almost fucking cried. I almost fucking cried at this scene, because not only is it my favorite turtle, it's Michelangelo. He died. He wakes up again with his brothers, because you see the heartbeat pattern, like the beep.
Yeah,
beep.
and then
it goes silent. It goes flatline, and then we see his brothers be like, "Man, you gonna sleep all day or what?" And then he wakes up, and all of them are there with him, and it's like they're just going around their normal day. They're about to go on like a little mission or whatever, and they're wearing their this time they're putting on all their gear to go out, and it's just like a good time. And Casey Jones is there, and Splinter's there, and they all meet on a roof, and they're like, "Man, this is home." And Mikey's like, "Man, I'm glad I'm here, guys. I'm glad I found you. I'm glad to be home. Like this smells like home." Because they're talking about how shitty New York City smells.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Well, Mikey, did you fart or something?" He's like, No, I didn't." And then Splinter's like, "Well, it's fine. New York has a
unique aroma.
A unique aroma."
Yeah.
And so that's a Splinter voice. I'm not
100% Splinter voice.
Yeah.
90s movie.
And so then Michelangelo says, "Yeah, it does. It smells like home. Trash. It smells like trash."
Yeah.
And giant rats is what it also
It smells like giant rats.
No offense, Splinter, but there are actual giant rats.
He is a giant rat.
Yeah. And that is the end of it, except we get a little epilogue. We see Casey Marie Jones is now training based on what the book says, from Michelangelo and Splinter. And so,
she's definitely realizing that like she's got her mutant powers, because she's like fighting one of those bags, and it goes
heavy bag
flying across the room.
Yeah, so she's learning her strength. She's fully like taking it in now and doing a good job. And we also see April is working on some stuff for scientific stuff. And then we see one of the projects that they're working on is Casey Marie Jones goes up to a little incubator, and there's 4 turtles that are in there, and she's like, "Come on, little guys, hurry up and grow.
I've got stuff to teach you."
Yeah. So
it's a cute little like.
Yeah, they leave it hanging like maybe these are going to be the new Ninja Turtles.
Ninja Turtles, yeah.
I don't know what they would do. So that is the end of it. And John, what did you think? What would you give it?
I loved it. I thought it was a lot of fun. I had a little expect to know, like, that the turtles were going to die, but I didn't know. I didn't know
Michelangelo was going to die at the end until he did.
I wasn't sure about that, and I didn't know if the last turtle would die, but also didn't think like the turtles' deaths in it would like hit me as hard as they did, and I was like, oh damn,
yeah,
especially
when they show all the scenes. Yeah, Raph's was really, oh dude, Raph's was fucked up.
Yeah, just because
just the way that they showed like the clenching face and then slack face.
Yeah, like instant, like to the brain and then dead.
Yeah, turtle brain gone.
So yeah, it was crazy. But man, everything, the art in this, into like the different styles of art, because you have the main art and then you had like the
Eastman flashbacks.
The Eastman
and then you
flashbacks.
had other flashbacks that were by different artists as well.
And then the art where the two times where Michelangelo, where he almost died and then died. That art is a little different too, as far as like what the turtles
like
look
the heaven
yeah.
world, where he's with his brothers.
Yeah, the sepia world.
Yeah. So there's I think there's a total of 3 or 4 artists on this book at different points. Whenever they go back in time, there's like the now time, or like the future now time.
The now time, the
then
before time.
The before time. Yeah, exactly.
The before.
And then, yeah. So, that's an interesting thing they did for sure.
Yeah, so it also made you like when you turn the page, you're like, oh whoa, like it kept you on your toes with like the art. It kept you on your toes with like every time there's a fight scene, they plotted it out obviously perfectly. Your things are going, then you turn the page and you're like, oh my god,
yeah,
like that's crazy. Whether it's like the turtles killing somebody or them dying, like it was every time was cool. I didn't really have it, like there was no point that really felt as down for me. I know you said there was the one.
When I say down, I just mean like, oh, like why are we waiting? Let's just go. But
yeah,
I mean it was needed because there was like inner turmoil.
Yeah,
but I feel like the movie was a lot more boring because I was fucking sick.
Because you were when you. But yeah, overall, I really enjoyed it. It made me like, I don't know what it is. We kind of talked about this a very tiny bit when we were talking about reading this last week. I don't know what it is about Ninja Turtles, man. Like, I feel like should be too old to like them anymore. It feels weird. It feels like it should be a kid thing more. But I'm like, I don't know.
that's because you know them from the cartoon more than the comic.
Maybe, but I don't know.
Because the comic to me feels way more like adults.
Yeah, especially this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the original one, they were killing people and
true.
stuff. So, like, the comic book is way more violent and, like, it's like more of an outlaw comic. You know, it's like indie, self-published, black and white. You know, there was only like 1,000 printed or less than that maybe. So, like, of the first printing of it. So, they sold it by, calling stores or putting in an ad in, like, Overstreet Guides or whatever, or Wizards, or not, I guess Wizard wasn't around then. Other magazines like fanzines and stuff. And then they would be like, if you would like to order our turtle book, call this number or mail us a check for blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So like that's how they sold this book.
Okay.
So to me, it feels not, and then the cartoon came much later. So like, or not much later, but a couple years after. So like to me, this book doesn't have like a kid feel. It's just, I think because you are.
Yeah, that must be why. But then more I think about it is like, I've never really like not stopped liking them. I've always like, my favorite shirt that I've had for years is that turtle shirt that's like, it's got Pizza Party.
Oh,
it's it's the Republican Party, Democratic Party, and then Pizza Party,
hell
and
yeah.
it's the checked on the Pizza Party.
Cowabunga, dude.
Because hell yeah, cowabunga, exactly. Like pizza's the way to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, I really enjoyed it. I feel like I almost want to say it like, that's what I was getting to, is that I almost want to say that like this made me feel like it's okay to like turtles again or something like that. I feel like I'm like,
for fucking sure,
turtles are for everyone, man.
Yeah.
So I may or may not go down a rabbit hole of reading some more. I do
for it.
And
the new one, there is a sequel coming out that's like the Lost Years. So we're gonna learn what happened to Michelangelo exactly in those, like his training, I'm assuming, and all that stuff.
So that'll be cool. And I'm going to read some more. I probably will go back and actually read more.
Well, I think they do have all the issues from like 1 to 100 like collected. I think I could be wrong about that. And then there's like an IDW series that's like back to 1 again, but it's more recent stuff. So
either way, what I'm saying is I'm all back in on Turtles, Turtle Power, and yeah. So
what would you give it?
I'm going to give it a 9.
A 9.
Yeah, I really,
solid book.
Really enjoyed it.
Yeah. If this didn't have the Eastman artwork, I'd be like, 7, whatever. The Eastman artwork was like, oh, fuck yes. Like, I was fully on board with the concept of this. And after reading the first issue, I'm like, oh, I love this. It's Michelangelo. That was a surprise. April O'Neil's in it, and she got like fucking 1 leg and 1 arm. Like, that's badass. But then turning the page in that sequence and seeing Kevin Eastman art staring me in the face, I was like, holy shit, that's fucking awesome. Like, I can't believe, and like I said during the episode, like full, like it's almost a full comic's worth of Eastman art, which you do not get anymore. So, and it's just as glorious as it was in 1986. Yeah, I'm going to give this one a 9 as well. I think if you are a Turtles, there is an asterisk of if you don't like Ninja Turtles, this is
probably not for you. Yeah,
but if you like Ninja Turtles and you even the movie or the show, and you want to like what happens to them later on, and you want like the adult version of what happens to them later on, this is it. Like, go fucking read this. It's fucking awesome. You get, like I said, all the different types of artwork, and it is pretty much like a perfect comic book. Like, this is what you want from a comic. You want, like I said, there was some stuff that's like, oh, this is like a Deus Ex Machina, but I'm having fun. I'll let it go. Like, I don't need an explanation for everything. Like, oh, I didn't even need to know who Fugitoid was. Like, okay, he's a robot they were friends with who can do some shit, like, yeah, like, I'm sure it adds to it if you do have all that backstory and all the stuff that happened to them. But, with that, John, what are we reading next week?
Next week, we are going off of our Patreon poll winner. That's right. If you want to have a say in what we read and talk about here, you can join our Patreon. And
you get to vote every month.
And this month's winner is Spawn.
Yeah.
Which is cool, because I've never read Spawn. My only knowledge of Spawn, and I liked Spawn a lot, especially when I was younger.
He was everywhere. Just his image was everywhere.
I think so, yeah. He looks badass, right? And it was the toys, the old 90s movie, which in rewatch
is terrible.
Has charming parts, but it's pretty horrible. And then I want to go back and watch the HBO show that I was not allowed to watch.
I have watched that. That is still good.
Is it?
But
okay.
Do not watch it before you read this, because it's literally like a direct adaptation of the first 10 issues. Or
well, that's okay. We'll wait on that. But I do want to go back, because I was not allowed to watch it when I was little.
Because it was fucking rated. Literally, that's more violent than the movie is.
Okay.
The live action movie. So.
So I'm excited. We're going to read Spawn. That's our Volume 1 Patreon poll winner. And speaking of Patreon, we want to thank our patrons. Thank you, Hoku and Otaku Mike.
Yes, very much. We appreciate it. And like he said, if you would like to vote on that, you can go to patreon.com/planes, trains, and comic books, all one word. Also on our Patreon, we have a Matt's mini series for Hellblazer. If you didn't know, I also do a Swamp Thing one that's free. That's every week, but I do a separate one that is every week as well for our patrons. That is the on the Hellblazer tier. So if you would like to get some more Hellblazer and John Constantine in your life, and you've always wondered about that character, and you want to know more, I read every issue, starting from 1, and I'm almost on issue 40 now.
And now's a good time. Constantine is
Constantine
back
2.
in zeitgeist again. Yes. We got Constantine and Sandman. We got Constantine 2 with Keanu coming.
Oh, yes.
Yes. And we've said this before. If they just it's the same director too, and so if they let them do the comic story without the studio getting involved, we're probably going to have a freaking badass movie.
There are so many good stories. So
let studios hear us now. Let them make Constantine. Just let them make Constantine correctly.
Yes. So,
but yeah,
with that, if you would like to listen to those, you can go on our Patreon once again at patreon.com/planes, trains, and comic books, all one word, and you can join there. If not, if you just want the free version, I do have free versions of that coming out now twice a month. And those will always be about 30 issues or more behind the Patreon. So if you're
get a taste of it, and you're like, oh dang,
yeah. If you're like, oh man, I only get twice a month, and I really want to know what happens. Well, guess what? You can sign up on our Patreon, and
you get all those episodes and the newest ones
instantly. You got 40 plus hours or something of goodness. So actually, it's not hours. They're usually about a half hour to 20 minutes each.
So definitely sign up if you want to. We got. All our links to all of our social media. We got YouTube exclusive content as well. So with that, I guess we'll see you on the next one.
On the next one.
Bye.